Okay, An Inconvenient Sequel then.
Which arrives 11 years on from An Inconvenient Truth, which was the hugely influential documentary fronted by Al Gore. It went on to win an Oscar. It basically brought people up to speed around the world with climate change, and it was based on this seminar, kind of a slideshow thing that Al Gore had given in many, many different places around the world, and it was bringing it to a wider audience. Now, this film is brought in two new directors, Bonnie Cohen and John Schenck, and it follows Gore in 2015 and 2016 as he kind of reassesses where the climate change conversation has come to. He's still spreading the word. He's still lobbying and demanding action. He's still touring various afflicted hotspots, literally hotspots in some cases, including an ice sheet that's melting away underneath his feet. It's one of these sort of socially conscious documentaries in the same way, actually, weirdly, as Step, which we talked about the other week, and also Blackfish, which is my go-to example for these kind of films, where they work far better as pieces of advocacy than as actual pieces of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Is the film inspiring? Yes, absolutely. Does it make me angry? Does it freak me out about the state of the world today? Yes, yes, yes. Is it socially useful? Of course it is. It's told me a lot about climate change, but I'm not entirely sure that it's done it in a way that necessarily needs to happen in the cinema. Particularly with this one, which as a sequel, the first one was very, very much built around this one slideshow, this presentation that Al Gore had given time and again. This is much more free form. So you have him making these location visits to the ice sheets and also to the streets of Miami, which are being flooded. It draws, one thing the film is very, very good at, is drawing links between, so if this happens over here, on the other side of the world, this will happen in response. So you see the ice melting away, water running into the ocean. Where does that water go? Here it is rising on the streets of Miami and causing trouble over there. So there's this sense of joining the dots that he does in this slightly long-form approach, free-form approach that he takes that couldn't maybe have been done quite so easily just in a written-through piece or something if he was going to publish an article about it or a book. Yeah. There's this kind of joining the dots of all the things that's going on is done quite well. But he also detours off to reflect for a bit on the 2000 American-US presidential election.
Yeah.
Which he, of course, ran against George W. Bush and lost. And he positions this as being a major tipping point in the wrong direction for US climate policy, which I think is probably fair, but also in the context of the film can feel slightly egocentric because he's going back to this event 17 years ago, whereas actually, the very recent US presidential election, you would think would be a much more pressing concern because obviously Donald Trump has disavowed climate change. He's pulling out of the Paris Accords that play an enormous part in the third act of this film because Al Gore is at the Paris Accords and he's doing a lot of lobbying there. Now, it's not going to be very convenient for this film to have to tear the thing down and then rebuild it around the Trump presidency. But the fact that it hasn't done, I mean, there are the occasional sort of information cards dropped in, maybe Trump sound bites. But the film feels very, very of a 2016 mindset. And unfortunately, because the conversation has moved on so far, so quickly, when you're watching it, certainly I felt there was almost another sequel yet to be made that would bring things up to speed now. So I think it's not going to necessarily have the same effect that the original film did by any stretch, the same kind of impact on people's, the general public consciousness about climate change. But for people who are interested in the subject, it will absolutely galvanise them and give them the latest bar charts and things that he's giving in his presentations and keep you posted as to where things are right now.